Well, hi everyone, it's me, Kat. Hello. This is what I want to talk to y'all about today. Here's what happened this morning that aggravated me. I was watching the news this morning, which I tend not to do, and let me tell you why. The news is depressing, and yes, I know that responsible adults should be listening to the news, but I'm not a responsible adult. I pick and choose how I be responsible, and listen, it's just too much. I can learn, everything I need to know, achieve, or accomplish, and learning things about the world and people and humankind, I can accomplish with either the History Channel, the Smithsonian Channel, every branch of the Real Housewives on Bravo, and because what I do is I get on those shows and I binge watch the hell out of them, and what I typically do is I just do the opposite of what all of those people are doing, and I learn a lot about what I should and shouldn't do and how I should and shouldn't be through the Real Housewives. There's been a few housewives that I totally dig them. There's not that many, but for the most part, I just look at all those bitches and I do the opposite. So that's my learning platform. And also, if all else fails, I'll just watch The Birdcage, My Cousin Vinny, over and over and over and over and over again. I think I'm on 350 with My Cousin Vinny, and I learn things about people that way. Other than that, if I need to know what's going on in the world, I just go onto social media and get the truth of all of it from all of you. I go on CNN. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I was on the news this morning, and here's what I happened to hear. And I was like, oh my God. They were talking about the effects of isolation and social isolation that it's having on children with COVID and everything that's happened in the last year, which I get it. Yeah, this isolation thing has been difficult on children especially. It's been difficult on all of us. I understand that, and I am 100% on board with that mindset. But here's what happened. I was interviewing this mom, and they're having this little banter, and she says, so I guess she had she's got a 3-year-old at home, and her thing was, and I forgot exactly how she worded it, but she said, yeah, she goes, at the rate we're going here, she said, I'm afraid that my child isn't going to be able to have, without social interactions, how is my child going to learn how to even have a 2-minute conversation with anyone when all of this is over? That's what she said. And I did record that so that I can go back and make sure that I say it right in case someone gets mad about what I'm saying. But because that's like my receipt or my backup record. But anyway, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I had this thought just pop into my head, and it goes like this. So, if you have small children at home, or even if you have older children at home, if you have adolescent children, if you have teenage children, if you have adult children that are adults' bodies with childlike minds in them, and trust me, there's plenty of those running around. I mean, we're never at a shortage for adult children. I know a bunch of them. But if you're worried about your children not having someone to, social interactions and communication opportunity. Oh, and here's another thing she said. She said she was worried that with a lack of socialization that her small child was having, how was that child going to learn basic human behaviors and how to function in a group setting and learn proper boundaries and how to be a human being and how to be in a group? Well, here's how. We all, obviously all our kids are sequestered right now. For the most part, it sucks what's happening, but here's one thing parents with small children can do in the midst of all of this bullshit. And I know it's kind of a difficult concept Maybe it's very complicated, but you can sit down and talk to your children. You can communicate with your children. You can have conversations with your children. Oh my fucking God. That's from my cousin Vinny, by the way. Parents can sit down with their young children during this whole pandemic thing. You can talk to them. It's not illegal. It's not a bad thing. You know, have conversations with them. Sit down, play games with them. Read to them, play board games with them. Talk to them like they're human beings, because that is what they are. Children are small human beings that, like, you have all the power you need. And yeah, it is awesome when we can, expose our young children to healthy social interactions with their peers. Of course it is. I mean, that's just the way. I mean, that's how societies thrive and survive. I mean, it is what it is, but we can't do that right now. We can't do that right now. You have to adapt. You have to adapt. You have to get with the program. You have to stop fucking complaining and whining and making excuses for all of the things that are going to become your children because of this pandemic. Because, yeah, there are some serious repercussions from this whole bullshit. I mean, I'm not stupid. But it is, and I'm not a rocket scientist either. Clearly, I'm not a rocket scientist. But I do know this. There was a time in my life, some of you might not believe this, but there was a time in my life when I was very, very, I didn't have much to say. I do tend to be a little, believe it or not, I am what is referred to as an INFJ personality type on the Myers-Briggs scale. I am an introverted extrovert, and that it's kind of ass backwards, but I tend to sequester my own self. I've been doing that for all of my life. I'm either in or out, and I mean, it is what it is. And during my process, when I had my son, and when I was raising my son, and even when I had Gia, I mean, I have gone through periods in my life where I never leave my house. As it is now, even before the pandemic, I'm not a big leave my house kind of person. I like to, this is what I like to do. This is just the way that I am. I like to stay inside. I like my home. I like my space. I am most comfortable when I am in my own environment. And luckily, I'm a person who has gotten to the point where I enjoy my own company. I like who I am, and it took a lot of work to get to that place. I used to couldn't stand being with myself, and that's how I went batshit fucking crazy. It was a process to that. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, I like being away from people unless I don't want to be. So that's how I've always been. My point is, I've raised my children, and when they were younger, now I was not that mom who signed up for every play date and put my kids in every activity and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you have to work with who you are and what you are, and every one of us as a parent has our own personalities and our strengths that we deal with. But my children, neither of my kids were exposed to, they both stayed home with me until they went to kindergarten. And, I'd take them to the park and take them to things. And they had, little friend things, but not so much. I mean, my kids were home with me. I was their primary caretaker. I was their primary social interaction. And although I had there was a period in my life when I wasn't able to communicate with people in general effectively, I've always been good at communicating with my kids. It's a survival thing. And so, yeah, I've always spoken to my children. I have talks with them. I read with them. I play with them. I mean, as a mother, was responsible for my children's social interaction and sending them out into this world and helping them become more adept to socializing. And, since they weren't the kids that were at every birthday party and every playground and play dates Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, they had to work with what they had to work with, which was tag, I'm it. And they both turned out pretty well. I mean, Are my kids perfect? No, but they're socially adept. And actually, my younger one, I mean, like, I don't understand how she turned out the way that she did. Actually, I do. That's because of me. But yeah. So here's the solution for not being able to properly socialize our young children during the pandemic. Fucking be your own dude. Sorry, this whole thing, I'm very sanctimonious when it comes to parenting, and I know that about myself because I've screwed a bunch of stuff up in my lifetime, and I've done a lot of like ass backwards things, and I have not always been a perfect mom. I mean, I make mistakes just like everyone else does. I mean, there is no such thing as a perfect parent. But one thing I will tell you is that my children have never been an inconvenience to me. They've always been my priority. They have never been an accessory to my life or just something that I did or had and then whatever. I mean, my most important investment, the most important conversations I've ever had in my life in 50 wonderful freaking years have been with my kids. And a lot of them happened when they were just little babies. And there you go. If you hear those conversations, and if you have the opportunity to chime in when you hear a parent complaining or whining about the demise of their children's welfare and well-being because they can't have social interactions right now, this is what I would do. I'd just be like, well, just socialize. You do it. Tag, you're it. It's a lot of work too, by the way. I know that parents are tired right now. You know, a lot of us, especially the single of us, I mean, I'm a widow. Everything falls on my shoulders right now. I could go on and on and on about all the excuses that I could give you for not having time or the energy to sit down and have conversations with my child during 2020, the year from freaking hell, and into 2021. But there isn't an excuse for it because you know what? That's what you signed up for when you brought children into this world. So sit your ass down, get off your phones, deal with yourself, and have some conversations with your kids. Oh, and by the way, one last thing. This is what really set me off with that lady when she was talking to the news guy today. She said, how is her child going to learn boundaries, healthy boundaries with in a group setting with people? And I'm thinking like, okay, news flash. You know how you teach boundaries to a young child? You teach them yourself. You have conversations with them. You tell your child what is and isn't proper behavior. You tell your child how they shouldn't speak to you. You tell your child, yeah, it's not okay to flush your cat down the toilet. It's not okay to speak to your father that way. It's not okay to speak to mommy that way. It's not okay to like trip your brother down the stairs and, ha ha ha, I tripped my brother down. I mean, honestly, I could go on and on and on and on and on. But that's at the end of the day, we have everything we need as parents to help our kids through this nightmare that we're in. And it's going to take a little bit of extra energy and a little extra creativity, or you can just sit the hell down and talk with them and everything's going to be okay. I mean, think about this. There are civilizations still on the face of this planet, and there have been since the beginning of time, where there are people that are living in more remote places and a little more isolated than others, and they reproduce. And not every child that comes from a situation where they're a little more isolated than other children, it doesn't mean they have to fail and they're going to not survive as adults. It all starts at home. And I can't say it enough. I love all of you, and I hope I didn't piss anybody off. But if I did, if anything I say pisses somebody off, then usually what I think is that means that you're feeling guilty about something, or it's affecting you because something you need to address with yourself. Trust me, I used to be that person. I used to hear people talking and hear conversations that people were having about different things, this, that, the other, what have you. And whenever it was twisting me up inside or aggravating me or upsetting me, turns out those were all things that I needed to address about my own self. When something someone else is saying is offending you, it's because you're looking in a mirror. Not always, but for the most part. And I'm not a doctor and I don't have a degree. So that is just 51 years of practical, hands-on, being a frigging adult knowledge. So there you go. And now you owe me $10. That's it. Okay, I love all y'all.